The next activity that you will complete for Wednesday is called Fear Following 9/11. For part 1, you're going to read the following description of 9/11. So it says, what was 9/11? On September 11th, 2001, 19 members of terrorist group Al-Qaeda seized control of 4 commercial passenger jet airliners in the United States. They crashed 2 planes into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, killing everyone on board the planes. Both towers collapsed within 2 hours, resulting in the death of almost 3,000 additional people who were either in the buildings at the time or emergency workers who responded to the attack. The Al-Qaeda operative flew a 3rd airplane into the Pentagon building just outside of Washington, D.C. The 4th plane crashed in a field in rural Pennsylvania after passengers and crew tried to retake control. The U.S. government responded by starting a war on terror and implemented increased security measures. The U.S. people were scared and felt incredibly vulnerable. They had never experienced an attack like that before. Part 2 is spend 1 minute analyzing the magazine cover on the following page. You'll have to look at that on your Google Doc, so just scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see the image there. I couldn't get my Google Drive to work in Notability, so I just took screenshots of this. So just make sure you look at your image. So take 1 minute looking at the image. If you want to pause this and take that minute, go for it, and then just restart after you look at it. Part 3, you're going to use that image on the following page to answer the questions below. So the first question says, when was this issue published? So you're going to look at the top right of the image. So look and see when that picture was published. And then what is the significance of that date? So another word for significance could be like what's important. What's important about that date? Oops, that is way too big of a writing. So like I said, another word for significance is important. So what is importance of the date? So if you look at your picture in the top right corner, the date is July 8th, 2002. The next question is, what is happening in this image? So look at the image again. What is happening? Question 3, in your opinion, what feeling is more strongly represented in the image? Is it fear, anxiety, or a desire to celebrate the normal? So whichever one you pick, tell us why. Why did you pick that? So in your opinion, what feeling is more strongly represented in the image? Fear, anxiety, or a desire to celebrate and be normal? Be sure to explain why you chose whichever side you chose. All right, the next question says, do you think this cover is still relevant today? So here we sit in 2020. Do you think this cover is still relevant today? So that's your first question that you need to answer. So if you say yes, it's still relevant today because, and if it's no, say no, this is not relevant today because. The second question is, how does it reflect the reality of living in a post-9/11 world? And the third question, how does it compare to living during COVID-19? So you all have lived through this COVID-19 pandemic. Your parents have lived through 9/11. So comparing the two, how does it compare to living during COVID-19? And write down, type in your answers for that one. So you should have 3 answers for this question because there's 3 individual questions. So make sure that you have 3 answers. All right, going on to part 4. In part 4, you're going to analyze data from the PEW Research Center. Excuse me. It says the 9/11 attacks imprinted themselves on American psyches in a way few other events in living memory have. Beyond the human toll, the attack struck deeply at Americans' sense of security. In the 2011, a decade after the 9/11 attacks, poll, 75% of people reported that they'd been emotionally affected a great deal by 9/11, compared with 67% a year after the attacks. 61% said life in America had changed in a major way since the attacks, up from half who said that in 2002. In November 2013, the most recent time we asked this question, 34% said terrorists' ability to launch a major attack was now greater than it had been prior to 9/11, compared with 29% who said less and 36% who said it was about the same. So your question is, your prompt is here, using the excerpt above, explain how people's feelings and attitudes shifted. So how did they change? How did they shift in the decade following 9/11? Why do you think this trend or change occurred? So type in your answer. Again, make sure that you've capitalized your sentences, you've put punctuation. When you complete this assignment, you will turn this into UC. There is a Group A 9/11 activity that you'll turn in for Group A students, and then Group B, you will have your own turn-in space for the 9/11 activity. So make sure that you submit this when you are finished.